So we've logged into ESD's account here. We're going to go ahead and fill out an unemployment application as a real estate agent. So you can see they've got their huge little disclaimer on the top saying they've got an unprecedented number of unemployment claims, which is true. They are backlogged, but we're going to go ahead and at least get the application in. And we're going to start by selecting Submit an Application. So this just kind of is summarizing. It's going to take you roughly between 30 and 60 minutes. I'm going to breeze through this fairly quickly. So you may have to hit pause as you're following along, which is perfectly fine. Some of the stuff that you're going to want to have handy with you is your social security number. And if you were a W-2 employee for any other organization, you're going to want to have your dates that you worked there, start date and the end date if you were laid off or if you quit or things like that. You're going to want to have those dates for the last 18 months. If you were military, you're going to want to have that DD-214 form. If you were a real estate agent with another firm, just make sure you check your classification. If you were an employee, you'll need to input their information on here. If you were classified as an independent contractor, you will not be putting their information in here. And I'll get to that once we get to that page. We're just going to go ahead and select next and keep going. This is just saying that they're saving your stuff, when you can apply. We're just going to go ahead and select next. This is saying this is a federal and legal form. So they're saying don't lie, be truthful. We're going to go ahead and select I agree and hit next. And this has some sensitive information for this particular person that I'm going to be submitting this application for with me. So I'm going to go ahead and take this off screen, but I will select next and go to the next page and catch up with you guys there. So here we are on the next page, which is asking for your driver's license. So it's going to ask you for your license ID number, as well as the issue and expiration date. And it gives you kind of a sample, which is kind of nice. So I'm going to go ahead and fill this off screen and catch up with you next by on the next page. So here on this next page, we've got benefits in other states. Have you applied for or received unemployment benefits from a state other than Washington within the last year? For this particular person, it's no. They've lived in this state all their life. But they're going to go ahead and select next. Injury or illness. Have you been unable to work for 13 or more consecutive weeks due to an injury or illness? If you've got COVID, you might want to consider selecting yes, but if not, hit no. This is not applicable. Hit next. Do you work for a federal government within the last 18 months? This does not include military service. So for this particular person, it's no. If it's otherwise, select yes and hit next. Did you separate from active duty military service in the last 18 months? I know we've got some agents that did, so go ahead and select yes, and if not, select no and hit next. Have you worked in any state other than Washington within the last 18 months? For this particular person, it's no, and we're going to hit next. When you're applying for benefits this week, so your claim start is April 19th, 2020, which is this Sunday. Is this the date you want your claim to start? I'm going to go ahead and select yes. If you're wanting to backdate, the ESD is currently saying that you have to contact them directly. So if you want to backdate, it has you put in a date, but you would have to contact them if you wanted to backdate this to say March 8th before this COVID stay-at-home order was put in place. But I'm going to go ahead and select yes and go next. Do you currently have an anti-harassment order in place for your protection? I'm going to select no and hit next. And this is asking for your contact information. I'm going to go ahead and fill this off screen, but one thing that's important when you're filling this in is you have to confirm the address to make sure that it is something that the U.S. Postal Service will verify. So just make sure you select this button, verify the address, and then hit next. I'll catch you on the next screen. So for this next page, it's kind of some census information. Some of the questions you don't necessarily have to answer. You can hit do not want to answer or other, but I'm going to go ahead and fill this in quickly and select next and go to the next page. I'll catch you up there. So for this next page, this is probably the most important page that you guys have when you're filling out this application as a real estate agent, especially if you've been a real estate agent for more than 18 months. It's asking if you work for a Washington employer. As an independent contractor, you're technically kind of employed by yourself. So what we're going to go ahead and do is select no and go next. Do we have your permission to use an alternate base year? I'm going to go ahead and select yes and go next. And it's asking for the primary occupation on this next page. So I'm going to go ahead and select search just so you guys can see what this will look like. Real estate and hit next. There's 3 pages. There's a lot of options here. It's on the second page. It has 2 options here, real estate brokers and real estate agents. As a real estate agent, you're going to probably want to select this option here, which is rent, buy, or sell property for clients. Perform duties such as study property listings, interview prospect clients. This particular classification is probably more accurate. Real estate brokers are for people who are probably running the firm. So just to make sure that this application goes through the way that it should, select real estate sales agent. We're going to go, are you going to continue to look for work in this occupation? We're going to select yes and hit next. So on this next page, it's asking about union membership. So just answer these questions truthfully. I'm going to go ahead and select no and no and hit next. Okay, so for this next page, it's asking about part-time work. So from January 1st of last year through the end of the year, did you usually work 17 or fewer hours per week? I'm going to go ahead and select no. They worked more than 17 hours a week. And hit next. So this next page is also probably one of the more important pages that you fill out, and it's asking about standby, and it's asking if you wish to request being put on standby. And I'm going to go ahead and select no and hit next. In this next page, they're asking about school or training. Just answer this question truthfully. It doesn't need any additional information. For this particular person I'm helping fill this application for, it's no, and hit next. So this next page, it's asking if you're able and available for work. This is also another very important page for you to fill out. Are you physically able to work and available for work? Because this is a health crisis and there is a stay-at-home order in place, most of you should be selecting yes, unless you, for health reasons, or have COVID, would select no and hit next. This next page is asking about federal taxes. You must pay federal taxes on your unemployment benefits. Do you want us to withhold 10% of your payment each week? I'm going to select yes. This is a personal decision for you guys, but I'm going to select yes. And they're telling you with this pop-up that if you decide to change your mind, they can't go back in time. So we're going to go ahead and select next. And then it's asking you how you want your unemployment benefits to be deposited. And you're going to need to have your debit card information handy or your direct deposit handy. And I'm going to go ahead and fill this in off screen and select next. I'll meet you on the page. So there actually was a little summary page right here before the claim summary where you can kind of go through and just verify the things that we went through. I just hit next just for privacy. And we're going to go ahead and select submit. And it says, congratulations, you have successfully submitted your application for unemployment benefits. Your confirmation is this. And this is very important. Please write this down. And other than that, we submitted the application. So important things to know for now is that your application will actually get denied. And it's important to notate this, that it will get denied. Because what will happen is on your dashboard afterwards, you'll have something pop up called, I can't remember exactly, but it pops up with PUA, Pandemic Unemployment Assistance. And what you'll do is you'll get denied, but you'll have the opportunity to apply for this Pandemic Unemployment Assistance. And what you'll need is you'll need a copy of your 1099 from last year or your federal tax return. As proof of income so that they can go through that application. So just keep in mind, pay close attention to the emails and the mail that they'll be sending you so you can fill out that application. And we'll post a video hopefully once we can get to that point too. So for those that have been following along, we got a unemployment letter and notification from ESD, and this is what it looks like, saying that we've essentially been denied, which we knew it was going to happen. What's important to kind of notate is that for them to process, they're having to do their own little research and stuff like that too. But you have to fill out a weekly claim, and you need to manage your benefits. As well as I locked in here too, we actually have access pretty quickly to fill out the pandemic unemployment assistance application as well. So we're going to go ahead and go through what that looks like from the home page. So bear with me.
I think it's cute how you say it too.
So we're here on the main page, and we're going to go ahead and apply for the pandemic unemployment assistance claim, because it wasn't hard enough to fill out the other one. We're going to fill this one out too. So we're going to click on this, and it's got a bunch of other certifications. I'm just going to go through this fairly quickly. We're going to go next. Same stuff as before. So we're going to go ahead and hit I agree, and next. And more questions. Are you unemployed, partially unemployed, or unavailable for work for one of the following reasons? This would be applicable, it looks like, if you had COVID or were taking care of someone who had COVID. So in this particular instance, I'm going to hit no. Most of you probably will say no. So I'm just going to go through that like most of you will be filling this out. Did your employer offer you the ability to telework with pay during the COVID public health, or as a self-employed person, are you able to telework as your usual number of hours for pay? This, I would say, is no, because we're not able to work nearly as much because of the telework. I mean, you can't show homes nearly as well. I mean, right now you can better, but for at least a couple weeks you couldn't. So I'm going to hit no. And what date did your employment status change because of the COVID public health emergency? I'm going to input the date the stay-at-home order was put in place, which was March 23rd. I feel like I've got it memorized, and I think everybody else does too. So let's just put that in there, and it says, do you normally work full-time? I'm going to select yes and hit next. Now this next page is asking for your social security number as well as your date of birth. The only thing that was different compared this one compared to the other application that we did earlier, the only thing that's different really is asking about the date of birth. So I know it's stupid, guys, but we got to do it. So I'm going to go ahead and fill this in quickly for this individual just to keep it sensitive and private. I'm going to hit next and catch the next page. So this next page is asking to verify information, and the next subsequent couple pages are going to be essentially the same thing. So I'm just going to kind of breeze through them, and I'll catch you up on a page where it's new, and we actually have to put new information or answer questions that we didn't already answer. So I'm just going to go ahead and select no, I don't want to update, and go next, and I'll catch you up in a couple pages after we filled in the personal information. So that was a surprise. I had actually put my driver's license information in again because it didn't save it the last application, I guess. So I put that in there for this person, and it's asking me if we've received unemployment benefits from other states other than Washington. I know, guys, we filled this in already, but this is a different application. And I know it's awful and annoying, but we're just going to go through. And it says, have you applied for or received unemployment benefits from a state other than Washington? I'm going to select no and hit next. Federal jobs, I mean, these are all the same questions, guys. Hit no, next. Military, no, next. Work in other states, no, yes, next. Anti-harassment, no. And then it's asking for, did you work for a Washington employer? Again, most important page, we discussed this in the previous application. This is very important. Just make sure you select no. And then it's asking about self-employment. So this is new. And so this is what they released for independent contractors to fill out this section. So one of the things that you're going to have, one of the things you're going to need to have handy is a copy of your 1099 and or your federal income tax return to upload and verify the amount that you're claiming. So we're going to go ahead and select yes, because we were self-employed as a 1099 independent contractor last year. And I'm just going to dummy up some numbers here just so we can kind of run through the rest of this application. So just make sure you put them in correctly. I'm just going to put 15,000 for each here. Looks like I missed a zero. We made more money that month. We're going to hit next. And it's asking for primary occupation again. So we're going to go ahead and fill in the same thing that we did before, which is search application. And we're doing real estate agent. And it's going to pop up on, I think, the second page. Yep, right here, real estate sales agents. Select OK. Are you going to continue to work, look for work in this occupation? Yes, and next. And it's asking for the union stuff again. So did you get your work through a union dispatcher referral list? Have you applied for or receiving union retirement pay? For this one, I'm going to select no and hit next. And it's asking the standby question again. And we're going to go ahead and select no and next. It's asking about school. I'm going to select no and next. Are you able and available for work? I'm going to select yes, and this is important. We are physically able to work unless for some reason that you can't. I would select yes and hit next. This is the same question on the previous application. It's asking how you want to handle federal taxes. For this purposes, I'm going to select yes. If you change your mind, they can't go back in time. That's essentially what they're saying. And we're going to hit next. Would you like to cancel your direct deposit? I'm going to say no. And I'm going to hit next. And we're going to go ahead and select submit. And that's it. So one thing to note though, guys, is that you still have to submit a weekly claim to ESD. And you can do that through the website here. You just have to make sure you submit to them or else they're not going to be able to fill on unemployment. So just don't forget about that. And let us know if you've got other questions or you have trouble with your application. Unfortunately, we're not your employer, so we can't help you with that side. You're going to have to talk to your contact at ESD, which I know that they're busy, but I guess just best of luck out there, guys, and I hope you're able to get funding as quickly as possible.